everybody, and a very warm welcome to the Hungaroring for the 8th race of the 2017 International GTOpen season. 60 minutes of action around the home of the Hungarian Grand Prix await us as we head past the halfway point of the season and into the summer break. Well, it's a very warm welcome from myself, Ben Evans, to a beautiful summer's afternoon here just outside Budapest, as the cars are heading from the pits to the grid in advance of what promises to be another frantic race. Yesterday we were treated to an absolute thriller, which was eventually claimed by Thomas Biaggi and Giovanni Venturini in the most dramatic of circumstances, when long-time race leader Miguel Ramos tangled with a slower car late on. That promoted Valentin Pierberg to lead the race before Thomas Biaggi was able to sneak past with just a couple of laps remaining. And that move for Biaggi could potentially have very significant implications in the championship. Qualifying this morning, though, the story was all about Fran Rueda in the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW Rueda, who's already got one victory to his credit this season, coming 3 weekends ago in Paul Ricard. Was absolutely the class of qualifying. For the Lexus entries, it was a little bit harder work, and long-time championship-leading Emil Frey racing Lexus of Philip Fromenvilla and Albert Costa will be lining up in 18th place. Track limit violations costing Fromenvilla a couple of good laps, and he and Albert Costa have got a lot to do. Yesterday's runner-up, Valentin Pierberg, will be starting in 15th position. He and Lance Diarnold in the SPS Automotive Mercedes looking very, very impressive during the course of yesterday's race. And I'm sure that they may well feature again as this afternoon unfolds. Paul Scheusner in the Conrad Motorsport Lamborghini Huracan start from 24th place. And Pier Giuseppe Perezzini lining up in 14th in the Scarlet AF Course Ferrari. Perezzini alongside Marco Ciocci, one of the star combinations of the Pro-Am Championship, which they were leading coming in to the weekend. So it's going to be, I think, a very frantic afternoon of racing, as here is the car of Thomas Biaggi, who is going to line up in the event in 7th position. But what we've had this year from Biaggi is consistency. That's what Miguel Ramos will be hoping for. He and Michael Mack, again, in terms of pace, have been absolutely on it this weekend, with Mack taking pole position yesterday. Ramos is going to line up in 4th for today, and so they may just get the victory that eluded them yesterday. But they will have a lot of very, very quick cars to overcome. Both of the Imperiale Racing Lamborghinis of Vito Postiglione and Thomas Biaggi. Fran Rueda, of course, in pole position. And Rueda will be sharing the front row of the grid with Thomas Jaeger in the Lechner Racing Mercedes. And then on row 2, it's going to be Com Ledegaard in the Garage 59 McLaren, and Miguel Ramos, who we saw heading towards his grid slot. Again, a bumper entry this weekend for the International GTOpen, and as a result, yesterday we saw plenty of very, very close racing all the way throughout the field. Actually, a glimpse there of the Balfe Motorsport McLaren of Sean Balfe, who starts in 20th place. Rubber the draw not quite going his direction during qualifying. Biaggi picks his way through to that 7th place on the grid. Shares the 4th row of the grid with Davide Rizzo, who was the top qualifier in the AM class in the Kaspersky Racing Ferrari. As the heat haze shimmers off the cars on the grid, the grid very, very full. It's just the 5-minute board being shown to the team's final preparations being made. So here is the pole sitter Fran Rueda, Teo Martin Motorsport BMW, the young Spaniard alongside Victor Bouveng, proving to be a very well-balanced driver combination and potential for this car to really challenge for the championships as the year unfolds. Thomas Jaeger and Mario Plasciuti, yesterday they were runners-up in the Pro-Am class. Jaeger in particular, a sterling drive through the field in the second half of the race, and he will be looking to do the same again in Mercedes today, trying to stretch the field early on. Third on the grid then for the Garage 59 McLaren of Com Ledegar and Alex West. Ledegar and West, who've scored a couple of podiums already this year, including a fantastic third place in Spa. But Ledegar need to push hard from third place as he just gets his helmet on. Fourth on the grid then for Miguel Ramos and Mikel Mack in the Spirit of Race Ferrari. Such disappointment for Ramos and Mack yesterday, even though they did salvage a third place finish in the event. But both drivers far too experienced to let that get them down the course of the afternoon. Fifth on the grid then for Vito Postiglione alongside Andrea Fontana in the Imperiale Racing. Lamborghini, Postiglione and Fontana got on the podium in race 2 in Paul Ricard. Every opportunity for them to do the same again. And then sixth on the grid for the DriveX Mercedes of Marcello Hahn and Alan Hellmeister. And the DriveX Mercedes has really been one of the most competitive cars in the field this season, and was very prominent in Paul Ricard, but as always, very, very well presented and set up entry, could challenge for a podium. Thomas Biaggi, well, he has got the success seconds in the additional pit stop time from his triumph yesterday, but he and Venturini just adept at bringing the car home in the points. So this is the Kaspersky car of Davide Rizzo and Alex Moiseev, which is the top AM class qualifying car, and Rizzo well up with 8th on the grid, showing that with a little bit clear air, the Ferrari, a very good car around this Hungaroring circuit. Eduardo Liberati starts from 10th on the grid in the Raton Racing Lamborghini that he shares with Kang Ling, and this is a car that's been steadily moving up the classification through the opening events of the season. Let's have a look then at the grid in full with the front row of Fran Rueda and Thomas Jaeger. That's going to be quite the fight down to turn 1. Com Ledegar will be hoping to replicate teammate Duncan Tappy's starter yesterday to lead early on. Vito Postiglione and Alan Hellmeister, it's very strong row 3, with then Thomas Biaggi and Davide Rizzo on the 4th row. The top 10 completed by Johnny Molim in the FF Course Ferrari and Eduardo Liberati in the Raton Racing Lamborghini. Then Lorenzo Berral de Viega, the second Teo Marti Motorsport BMW, will be taken over by Tiago Montero mid-race on the farm back at Lexus. Hiroshi Hamaguchi has got Vettantonio Liuzzi waiting in the wings, and both cars on row 7 should push through late on, as will, you'd expect, the SPS Mercedes of Valentin Pierberg and Lance Arnold, whereas Mastronardi starts the SF Racing Ferrari. The Racing Trevor BMW starts from 17th alongside Philip Fromenvilla, Jose Belbiani in 19th, and Sean Balfe a lot to do from 20th, but he could just do it. Likewise for Mike Benham and Duncan Tappy, 3rd in the Pro-Am class yesterday, but 21st on the grid, which is completed by Luis Silva and Paul Scheusner. Lots to look forward to then over the course of the next 60 minutes as the cars are about to be waved away onto their green flag formation lap that will set them up for the rolling start. So the last opportunity to see how this Hungaroring circuit, all 4.3 kilometres of it, has rubbered in since qualifying earlier on today. Fran Rueda leads the field as they head off down towards turn run, the road falling away sharply yesterday. We somehow got through the opening turns without any dramas, and we'll be hoping for much the same again today. Certainly Miguel Ramos will be looking to avoid any contact, and it's hard to pick a winner from this race because with the BMW, it's been very, very strong this weekend. There is the question, though, is it more aggressive on its tyres than some of its rivals? For Thomas Jaeger and Com Ledegar, both Plashuta and West right at the top of the Pro-Am class, whether or not they'll be able to sustain the pace to challenge the overall race victory will depend on how much the leaders can stretch the field early on. But then you've got the dark horse cars like the Dominic Farnbacher and Norbert Seidler, Farnbacher Racing Lexus, victorious already this year in Estoril and Spa. but looking to return really to an elevated finishing position for the first time since the Belgian round at the end of May. Of course, the Imperiale Racing Lamborghinis should not be discounted. Field winding their way through turn 7 out towards the further extremities of the track before they then have the short sprint towards this flip-flop chicane that forms turns 8 and 9. Then you've got this middle section of the lap, which is lots of mid-speed corners coming in all fairly quick succession, one after another, and then the final sector of the lap, the quick flick out of turn 13, a chance to maybe challenge on the brakes into turn 14. Two McLarens further down the field than they would have hoped, Sean Balfe and Mike Benham, but also watch for this car, the MS Racing Mercedes of Alexander Raquina and Martin Conrad. They were victorious in the AM class yesterday. Com Ledegaard starting from third. Always driver couldn't be relied on. Yesterday, Duncan Tappy jumped, I think, from 9th on the grid through to 4th at turn 1. A similar leap for Ledegaard if he can take the early advantage. This is a track where it's difficult to overtake. And therefore, the more agile cars are really able to hold their own and maintain that position along the lengthy start and finish straight. Lots of stories to watch for then as this afternoon's race unfolds. They're now beginning to bunch up side by side, getting ready for the rolling start. What a magnificent sight they make. Every single car in the championship absolutely immaculately prepared and presented. And again, such a variety of marks. The top 5 places on the grid, you've got BMW, Mercedes, McLaren, Ferrari, Lamborghini. This is what it is all about. Multi-mark GT racing with a huge grid on a glorious summer's afternoon. 60 minutes to look forward to. 60 minutes to be apprehensive about if you are Teo Martin and Emilio de Vallota and you're running the pole position car of Fran Rueda. As the pace car really bunches them up slowly as they head towards turn 16. As they swing round the right-hander, they will see the lights on the gantry. When the lights go out, we will be racing. Second time this weekend here in Hungary as Rueda paces the pack now. It's going to be quite the charge towards turn 1 as the BMW bunches them all up. Com Ledegaard looking to go. So is Thomas Jaeger. There are the red lights. Out they go when we're racing in Hungary. It's a brilliant start from Thomas Jaeger. Also well away is Miguel Ramos. Com Ledegaard trying to sneak to the inside, but nothing doing. And Fran Rueda might just hold on to the lead as they're 4 wide in the midfield. Everybody shuffles through the first turn. Johnny Molan runs out wide. Oh, contact behind. It's the Racing Trevor BMW of Yuri Malachek that goes round as it is Rueda who leads from Jaeger, then Ledegaard, Alan Hellmeister, and then I think it's Vito Postiglione in the first of the Imperiale Lamborghinis. It is also been a good start from Dominic Farnbacher and Philip Fromenvila. They've both made plenty of ground. Miguel Ramos has been shuffled to 6th, despite anticipating the start of the race supremely well. But with the one exception of the BMW, they're all cleanly through. Pier Giuseppe Perezzini tries to make ground on Rino Mastronaldi in the midfield. Everybody else flicks over the chicane. Liberati just goes straight through it. Doesn't really gain any ground, nor does Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. He has got Johnny Molan just behind him as the leading gaggle of cars all sprint their way through this middle sector. And Dominic Farnbacher up into 8th place already, and he's looking very good in his early stages in the Lexus. So everybody runs wide out of 13. Thomas Biaggi looking to apply a little bit of pressure to Miguel Ramos, partly because he's got Farnbacher right behind him, and Lorenzo Bear out of Jaeger, and Ramos having to get his defensive elbows out early as around the outside, trying to challenge his Farnbacher, and he might have a run here on Biaggi. Biaggi, though, squeezes him out. Farnbacher immediately gets back into line. He needs to keep Lorenzo Bear out of Jaeger behind him, and Philip Fromenvila, and Eduardo Liberati, and Johnny Molan. So the race leaders all thunder through, and it's been a good first lap for Fran Rueda. Jaeger 2nd, Ledegaard 3rd. As Farnbacher defends from the BMW into the opening turn of the 2nd lap of the race. Oh, and a problem behind it's Liberati, who spins around, just a little bit too enthusiastic with the throttle. He he will be shuffled as a result to the back of the field. It's Giuseppe Perezzini applies a little bit of pressure to Jose Balbiani. Balbiani had an excellent first lap. He's up into 12th. Sean Balfe also well up. He's gone to 18th. Valentin Pierberger's lost out, as unfortunately Yuri Malsharek is into the pits, and also, I believe, is Mike Benham in the Garage 59 McLaren. We might have another look at what happened when those two cars came into contact. The rest of the field through chicane at turns 8 and 9. Miguel Ramos having withstood that initial barrage. Trying to continue on his way. Inspection going on to the rear corner of the Garage 59 McLaren. It rather feels as if that could be some more than a spare tyre required. Here is a look then. And yeah, Benham onto the grass, squeezes Sean Balfe. So Benham bumps into Balfe, who in turn rotates the racing Trevor BMW. This is what it felt like for Yuri Malsharek. Not how you want the first corner to feel. Unfortunately, picking up a little bit of damage as well. Now here is the moment for Edoardo Liberati. Oh, he just got a tag, didn't he, from the FF Course Ferrari. And so round goes Liberati, just a tap at the wrong angle. So here's the race leader, Fran Rueda, 2 seconds clear of Thomas Jaeger in second. Third is Com Ledegaard. Fourth, Alan Hellmeister. Fifth is Vito Postiglione. Sixth, Miguel Ramos. Seventh, Thomas Biaggi. Eighth, Dominic Farnbacher. Ninth, Lorenzo Beirao de Viega. And 10th, Philip Frommenwieler. And of course, the Hungaroring, everyone's been saying all weekend, this is a track where it's so difficult to overtake. They will have the opportunity through the pit stops to shuffle the order. That will be between the 24th and 36th minute of the race. So still 20 minutes until that pit window opens, so they're going to have to sort it out on track between themselves first of all. And it's that twin task of fighting for track position whilst also stretching the field. The bad news, I'm afraid to say, is that certainly Mike Benham's McLaren's been wheeled back into the pit box, because it's directly opposite our commentary position, and Yuri Malsharek also hasn't re-emerged, as Rino Mastronardi applies a little bit of pressure to Johnny Molam. Molam in turn tucked up behind Philip Frommenwieler, but nobody at all is tucked up behind the race leader Fran Rueda. His advantage over Thomas Jaeger, some 2.5 seconds. Com Ledegaard then in third, looking reasonably comfortable in the Garage 59 McLaren. Fourth, and Hellmeister. Fifth, Vito Postiglione. And then a little bit of gap back to Miguel Ramos in sixth in the Spirit of Race Ferrari. As Farnbacher Lexus just runs a little bit wide on the way in to the hairpin. Looks to apply the pressure coming out. Then we've got Lorenzo Beirao de Viega. And Beirao de Viega under a little bit of pressure as well from Philip Frommenwieler. Then it's Rino Mastronardi. So Mastronardi really flying at the wheel of the SF Racing Ferrari as Philip Frommenwieler runs a little bit wide coming through the first turn. It's going to allow Mastronardi to draw alongside, and Frommenwieler trying to fight to the inside, also behind Giuseppe Perezzini, Jose Balbiani. That's very, very close as the Sport New Mercedes ducks past, as does Mastronardi, who makes the move stick on Philip Frommenwieler, who runs wide again, tipping down out of turn 4, straight into the clutches of Johnny Molam. And this is what happens when the cars are this evenly matched, is all it takes is a tiny mistake and you could lose a lot of ground in a heartbeat. For Philip Frommenwieler, leading the championship coming into the weekend, losing that to Thomas Biaggi and Giovanni Venturini yesterday. And at the moment, again, running behind the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini. There is Hiroshi Hamaguchi. He's got Davide Rizzo just behind him. Then Sean Balfe, who was caught in the Benham Malsharek sandwich at turn 1. But fortunately, it would appear without any ill effect. As Com Ledegaard starts to apply a little bit of pressure to Thomas Jaeger. As Mastronardi continues to charge, he just moves clear of Lorenzo Beirao de Viega as well. So the SF Racing Ferrari, which we've seen flying this year in the hands of Andrea Chiarelli, he's stepped out for this weekend. Mastronardi's taken over. There's the move. The incident between Johnny Molam and Eduardo Liberati, not unsurprisingly, perhaps under investigation, because there was contact. Spin resulted from it. Judgment may or may not be passed. As trying to pick up the throttle, Com Ledegaard looking to get onto terms with Thomas Jaeger, but immediately he's got the Drivex Mercedes just behind him, and Vito Postiglione as well, lurking with intent. Postiglione and Andrea Fontana, they could be the dark horses for success later on in the race, depending on just how the BMW lasts. At the moment, though, Fran Rueda, he's not got any success seconds in the pit stop, and therefore all the ground that he's gaining now will be advantage for Victor Bouveng to inherit into the second phase of the race. Thomas Biaggi trying to chase Miguel Ramos. Nice almost ground level camera shot there. You get a sense of the speed of the cars as they accelerate out of turn 13. Short sprint, downhill braking zone to turn 14 before the road starts to climb again. And there is a fair amount of elevation change here at the Hungaroring, particularly through the first and third sectors of the lap. It's that steep uphill climb now. The Drivex Mercedes is navigating with Vito Postiglione. Sitting in pursuit there is Victor Bouveng, who will be taking over from Fran Rueda. That's not been such a good lap from Rueda, mainly because Thomas Jaeger's pulled the pin and just set the fastest lap of the race. He's taken 0.7 of a second out of the BMW as a result. It means that Rueda's lead slips back under 3 seconds. Jaeger's trying to break away from Com Ledegaard. Mixed success in terms of that. Ledegaard unable thus far to shake off Mercedes, Van der Helmeister or the Lamborghini of Vito Postiglione. But then there's a bit of a gap back, some 2 seconds to Miguel Ramos in the Ferrari. So the question is, can Thomas Jaeger sustain this pace over the BMW and the Mercedes? Through the first sector, the answer would tend to be yes. So they use every inch of the road, if not just a little bit more. Coming out of turn 7, then hopping the curbs through turns 8 and 9. Oh, and living dangerously. You saw there the Drivex Mercedes right out, a wheel brushing the grass. Now, what can Thomas Jaeger pull off through the middle sector? Can he ease away from Com Ledegaard? Can he close up onto Fran Rueda? We'll find out momentarily as they all sprint out of turn 13. And the answer is yes to both. Rueda's advantage being whittled away, and Jaeger pulling clear of Ledegaard in the McLaren. Meanwhile, Johnny Molam has picked up a 10-second penalty for causing a collision, so that will be added to the race time of the FF Course Ferrari. It's a disappointment for Molam as race leaders thunder through. 2.1 seconds now, Rueda's advantage. It's another 0.3 in favour of Thomas Jaeger last time around, and Jaeger in the Lechner Racing Mercedes was breathtakingly quick yesterday and looking to do much the same again, but we've still got this leading quintet. They're all covered by just some 5 seconds or thereabouts. The top 10 currently covered by 14 seconds. Back to Lourenco Beirao de Viega. So much to ponder in the racing pit box. As this fight for third continues to run in pretty close formation, and the pace drops much more. They're going to have Miguel Ramos beginning to just pick his way back towards this group. Ledegaard doing much as Duncan Tappy did yesterday, which is just focusing fully on the job in hand, not consulting his mirrors, or at least not making it look like he's consulting his mirrors, and therefore making the cars behind do all the hard work. Out of turn 13, running wide up over the curbs. Now here is a look at Valentin Pierberg, having briefly got ahead of Sean Balfe, then promptly demoting himself. Over the course of this lap, there's not been anything to choose between Fran Rueda and Thomas Jaeger in the fight at the front of the field. Jaeger, though, has been just picking his way clear of this group of cars. Meanwhile, further back, Pier Giuseppe Perezzini and Davide Rizzo do battle. Davide Rizzo and Perezzini. Ferrari side by side through the final turn. It's Rizzo who just emerges in front of Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. See the train of cars down the start and finish straight ahead of them. Looking to the inside line, Perezzini also defending in the background. You saw Sean Balfe as Valentin Pierberg comes back at him. So leading quintet, much as we were. But Thomas Jaeger has just done the fastest first sector of any of the race so far. His lead, or his advantage over Ledegar in the fight for second and third, now just over 2 seconds. It's Alex West who will be taking over from Ledegar mid-race. They'll be hunting for Pro-Am class honours alongside Jaeger and Plasciuta. So that is going to be a battle worth watching for, because it's got the different classes to consider as well. We've got the outright race podium, then the Pro-Am class, then the Am class as well. Rino Mastronardi currently leading the Am class in 8th overall. And then you see in the background Miguel Ramos, who is cruising up to the tail of this fight for third position. So Ramos, having had a difficult opening couple of laps under real pressure from Thomas Biaggi, now beginning to get back up to pace. Then we've got Biaggi here now with the boot on the other foot, because he's got the SF Racing Ferrari of Rino Mastronardi right behind him. Mastronardi showing some phenomenal pace at times yesterday afternoon in the SF Racing Ferrari. He shares, of course, with Fusong Yang. So it's all starting to come together at the front of the field, because Jaeger caught Rueda again on that last lap, as Mastronardi looks to the inside of Biaggi, and Biaggi not even fighting it, because, again, this is the experience of Thomas Biaggi. He knows that as the race unfolds itself, that Giovanni Venturini will certainly have the legs on Fusong Yang later on, so he can allow Mastronardi to go just at the moment. But a lively, lively start to the race. We are just 9 minutes away from the pit window opening, and Jaeger's catching Rueda at the front of the field. Ramos is catching the Ledegar Hellmeister Postiglione battle, and Lorenco Berau de Vieira has been comprehensively caught by Philip Fromenvila and Johnny Molam. This is the battle for 10th, 11th and 12th. The FF Course Ferrari chasing the ML Frey Racing Lexus, all behind the Teo Marti Motorsport BMW. It will be piloted from mid-race by the third place finisher in the 2005 American Grand Prix, Tiago Monteiro. So that's another of the cars that we'll expect to see climbing through the order later on. There's just a little sneaky look to the inside from Philip Fromenvila, trying to force the mistake from the BMW. May have done it coming out of turn 13, as running a little bit wide was Lorenco Berau de Vieira. Fromenvila, though unable to capitalise instead, he's got Johnny Molam filling his mirrors, and Molam almost thinking about a little bit of a dart to the inside. Not enough space, though, for Molam to pick his way past on that occasion. But Lorenco Berau de Vieira must be careful. It's been picked up for track limit violations. It's the leading group of cars already long gone. This the fight for 10th position, and they're being joined by Jose Balbiani and Davide Rizzo, second and third places respectively in the AM class. Both Balbiani and Rizzo having a really good scrap, as Rizzo looks to the outside of the Sport New Mercedes. Then the Kaspersky Motorsport Ferrari will try and switch back for the undercut. Can't quite do it. So the Sport New Mercedes maintains the position. And as Lorenco Berau de Vieira defends from the cars in front, it allows the cars behind all to start to close up as well. That's exactly what Balbiani and Rizzo are looking to do. They tussle over 13th and 14th. Front of the field, Jaeger now just 1.2 seconds back from Fran Rueda. Com Ledegar has still got his train running in attendance behind him. And then we've got this wonderful scrap headed by Lorenko Berard-Viega, who's under pressure from Philip Fromenvelen. Fromenvelen's going to go, oh, there's contact! And the Lexus and the BMW both go off the road. And it was an opportunistic move from Philip Fromenvelen as Berard-Viega shut the door. And I rather fear that the Emil Frey Racing Lexus has picked up some suspension damage, as has the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW. And both of those cars look to be in a whole heap of trouble. And that is a great pity. That side-to-side contact, you never know what it's going to do to the car internals. And they're both crabbing their way back to the pits. And yet, there you see the front right puncture for Lorenko Berard-Viega, who's having one of those seasons where it wasn't for the bad luck, he'd have had absolutely none at all. Now, here is the fight for the lead of the race. So, for the Teo Martin Motorsport team, well, they looked apprehensive when we saw them on the formation lap. Gets even more nerve-wracking now. Here you see it. Fromenvelen goes to move and bang, turning across. You might be able to argue that Fromenvelen was in Berard-Viega's blind spot, but the Emil Frey Racing Lexus was somewhere alongside. Meanwhile, further back, contact between Valentin Pierberg and Sean Balfe. That battle's been brewing for a while. And around goes Balfe, and that brings him down to 17th. So hopefully nothing too much in the way of damage for either the Lexus or the BMW, but I think the Lexus, there's certainly concern that there's something not as it should be underneath the bonnet. So this, the fight for lead the race. It's taken Thomas Jaeger a couple of laps, but now he has got onto terms with Fran Rueda. And this is what Jaeger's been able to do, both yesterday and again today. He's just been inexorable in the rate of capture. Another great scrap. This is a little bit lower down the field. Luis Silva and Alexander Joaquina, they're fighting over 4th and 5th in the AM class, the Sporting U and MS Racing Mercedes. And Joaquina trying to pick his way past the Portuguese stalwart, the International GTOpen, but Luis Silva knows a few tricks of the trade. Finished 3rd in the AM class yesterday, alongside Antonio Coimbra, as tries to keep the car that won the class behind him. But again, Luis Silva, you can see, he's just sticking to the racing line. He's going to make Alexander Joaquina do all the hard work. So Lorenko Berard-Viega has emerged from the pits at a not inopportune moment, one would suggest, because it's the sister car coming to lap him, and that's very, very sporting driving, actually, from Lorenko Berard-Viega, not intruding on the fight for the lead of the race whatsoever, and allowing Rueda and Jaeger to continue their fight. It's also, I think, a question whether or not all is as it should be for Berard-Viega. I think there may have been a bit more damage done than just a puncture, and that's what the BMW is discovering now. So Fran Rueda swoops around the right-hander, sprints on his way to the close of the 12th lap of the race. 3 minutes and 20 seconds until the pit window opens, but this is the wheel-to-wheel scrap for the lead. Rueda and Jaeger, they are 5.5 seconds ahead of the fight for 3rd place, still headed by Com Ledegaard. Jaeger closes right up to Rueda. The BMW, though, should be able to open up a little bit down the start and finish straight. And this is going to be the challenge here for Thomas Jaeger, is whether or not he is going to be able to pick his way past the BMW through the middle sector of the lap, where the Mercedes is just that little bit stronger. And again, Jaeger ever closer, now just 4/10 adrift. Valentin Pierberg, meanwhile, has picked up a 10-second penalty for causing a collision with the contact Sean Balfe. As Jaeger runs in pursuit of Rueda out of turn 4. Lorenko Berard-Viega sadly rolls to a halt in the pit lane. Rather fear that is that door open and disconsolate driver about to vacate the cockpit. But at the front of the field, Jaeger is now right with Fran Rueda, and you can just see the agility of the Mercedes relative to that of the BMW as we get towards the end of the stint. And Rueda may well have started this race on older rubber that is possibly starting to be crying enough. Certainly Jaeger seems to be able to just extract a little bit more in terms of the sharpness of change of direction he's able to achieve with the Mercedes. On the brakes into turn 14. Just 1.5 car lengths between the pair of them as they climb uphill to the pits, but you didn't anticipate that both Rueda and Jaeger are going to stay out relatively deep into the race as the BMW runs out over the curb. The same for Thomas Jaeger, who now pushes on down the start and finish straight. The gap as Ledergaard up. Stronardi from a relatively lowly qualifying position. Third is Diaghi. Further 5 to really quite unpredictable. We take silver. All change in the Mercedes. Approaching half race distance. Absolutely fantastic race here so far. Anybody for the pits on this lap? Just wonder if Miguel Ramos may be ducking in. Quite likely to be the case. Just looking for the Vodafone-backed Ferrari at the back of the picture. He's not there. And that's because Ramos is indeed into the pit lane to hand over to Mikael Mack. Our cameras are on the scene. And again, a well-drilled pit stop for the Spirit of Race Ferrari. And they've got a few success seconds to overcome. So they can do everything at pace, but they don't need to rush it. They don't need to force it and lose time. Thomas Jaeger, now he's released at the front of the field, has just set another fastest lap of the race. So 1 minute 44.4. We're currently with the fight for second place. A very busy one it is too, and they're getting in and amongst some of the cars that have emerged from the pit lane as well. So Vito Postiglione in fourth. There he is, the bright green Imperiale Racing Lamborghini. Then you've got Mastronardi just behind. Then the next car on the train is in fact Marco Ciocci, who's just taken over from Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. There's Ciocci, and then behind Ciocci is Rob Bell. Alexander Fraquina is in to exchange the keys of the MS Racing Mercedes with Martin Conrad. It's one of the foremost cars in the AM class. All change. Hedegaard still in second position. He's done a great job of just sucking up everything that his rivals have thrown at him, and also running at the sort of pace that is going to give Alex West, when he takes over the car, every chance to challenge for an outright race podium, if not Pro-Am honours overall. So out of the final turn, this group of GTs hammer down the start and finish straight. The pit window is open until 24 minutes or so left in the race. They've got a reasonably good pit window to play with. At the front of the field, though, Victor Bouveng, who is the foremost of those who's pitted from, of course, the lead of the race, has just set the fastest first sector of the race altogether in the Teo Marti Motorsport BMW. He leads, of those that have pitted, Mikael Mack by 17 seconds in Spirit of Race Ferrari. And Giovanni Venturini is third of those that have pitted, and then fourth of the completed pit stop runners is Vitantonio Liuzzi in the Triple F Racing Lamborghini, as the Kaspersky Ferrari comes in, and it is going to be Alex Moiseev who takes over from Davide Rizzo. Trainer cars still fighting over second place. Flip-flop through the chicane. They've got Marco Ciocci trying to chase them down. Ciocci introduces some clear air as now Victor Bouveng sets the fastest lap of the race in the BMW. A 1 minute 44.1 for Bouveng. So he and Fran Rueda looking good for a second victory of the season. A big mistake there from Postiglione, sliding wide through turn 13. And that's the benefit of the asphalt runoff, because he went off at speed and immediately now has to start defending from the effervescent Marco Ciocci. Very amiable character outside of the car, absolutely formidable behind the wheel. And Ciocci looking to pressurise Postiglione. Here's a look at it. All the grip in the world until there was none at all. The rear of the car on the cusp of overtaking the front. And just look at the marbles that have been deposited to the outside of the turn through the course of the weekend. As Ciocci looks one side, then the other, trying to overhaul Postiglione. Decent undercut here. Pierberg, they're doing exactly the same again in the mid-race phase. Now here is Com Ledegaard, the effective race leader, and Hellmeister looking to overhaul him. Rino Mastronardi as well, up into third position. Now the pace of this group of cars, it's in the low 1 minute 45s, and that is relative to 1 minute 44 second bracket, which is where we're seeing the likes of Victor Bouveng and Mikael Mack playing. They've got time probably for this last lap before they make their pit stops. Of those that have pitted, the order is Victor Bouveng from Mario Plasciuta, then Mikael Mack, and then Norbert Seidler in the Farm Backer Racing Lexus from Giovanni Venturini. So really unpredictable how this race is going to unfold, because Victor Bouveng is out in the lead of the race, but he's being caught at a rate of about 0.6 of a second a lap by Mikael Mack. And at that rate of capture, Mack would be able to threaten by the time we get towards the checkered flag. So the chase could be on for victory, depending on who gets fed out where. As Mikael Mack, already on this lap, he's 0.6 of a second up on Victor Bouveng just through the first two sectors. We continue to follow the fight for the lead of the race. These three cars are yet to make their pit stop. They are 3 of the 6 cars that are yet to make their pit stops. It's Ledegaard from Hellmeister, then Rino Mastronardi and Com Ledegaard and Alan Hellmeister, both hoping to play for the Pro-Am podium this afternoon. Not a little bit more. It's going to be fascinating where they all feed into all of this. Meanwhile, on that last lap, Mikael Mack was a whole second quicker than Victor Bouveng, as everybody darts for the pit lane at the last possible moment. Just a few seconds left before the pit window closes, so it releases Ciocci into clear air. So now essentially we've got static cars, and we are watching the cars that are currently out on the far side of the circuit. Ciocci, as soon as he gets that clear air, sets the fastest lap of the race, so 1 minute 44.0. As the Garage 59 mechanics get to work. Really slick pit stop as ever from the team. Mastronardi and Fu Song Yang likewise swapping around. Same for Marcello Hahn, who'll hop in to the DriveX Mercedes. Victor Bouveng is in the final sector of the lap. So is Mario Plasciuta. I think the real car to watch for is going to be the progress. Here is Mario Plasciuta of Mikael Mack behind Victor Bouveng. And there you see in the background Mikael Mack as the pit window closes. 24 minutes left on the clock. And this is going to be absolutely fascinating as Andrea Fontana heads down the pit lane as well. Now that's come out of the pits. Now here is Victor Bouveng. So Bouveng leads. Second place is to Marcello Hahn. Third is Alex West. Fourth is going to be Mario Plasciuta. Fifth, Andrea Fontana. And sixth is Mikael Mack. But of the 6, it is Mikael Mack who is comfortably the quickest at the moment. But he's got a lot of traffic to overhaul, including this battle at the front of the Pro-Am class between Alex West and Mario Plasciuta. And this is for second in the Pro-Am class, because the Pro-Am class currently being led by Marcello Hahn, who emerged from the pits just ahead of West. So it is really nice tussle, this. The McLaren sandwiched between the two Mercedes. 22 minutes to play with. Now Victor Bouveng, his last lap was a 1 minute 45.1. Mikael Mack in 6th, 14 seconds off the lead, a 1 minute 44.1. We've got time for 14 more laps in the race, so this is on for Mikael Mack, provided that rate of capture continues and provided he's able to clear all the cars in front of him. And that is going to be the real ask for Mack. Bouveng doesn't have traffic to worry about. The 6th place Ferrari does. 7th place is Norbert Siedler in the Farnbacher Racing Lexus. 8th is Giovanni Venturini, as Andrea Fontana just squiggles on the brakes. And there you see Mikael Mack immediately behind him. So the leading 6 cars covered by just under, or just 14.5 seconds midway through the lap. But Mack getting into turbulent air of the cars in front. This is going to be the real task for him. He swings out the final turn, and he's going to have the podium contenders in the Pro-Am class all to battle with as well, because they are closing up on each other as well, right in front of him. And then in the background, you see Norbert Siedler, who's coming to them as well. And Siedler is also circulating more rapidly than the race leader Victor Bouveng. Well, this could be absolutely fascinating. There's a slight mistake again from Andrea Fontana through turn 3, as he looks to get a little bit of heating to the Michelin tyre in the Imperiale Racing Ferrari. Alex West chasing down Marcello Hahn for victory in the Pro-Am class, and also for 2nd place in the race overall, because this is the fight for the Pro-Am victory for 2nd place as well. It's 9 seconds back from Victor Bouveng, but the gap for Bouveng, the race leader, to watch for is really that of Mikael Mack. He is the driver in the front of the field who's capable of chasing it down. But for now, Alex West is coming right to terms with Marcello Hahn, and this is going to be a good squabble between them. The McLaren, nimble and agile. The Mercedes has been very strong all weekend. West, an outright race winner. Don't forget last year in Monza, where he drove absolutely brilliantly under sustained pressure late on. As in the background, it looked as if Mikael Mack was about to make the move on Andrea Fontana. We'll pick it up maybe from the next camera. Yes, he did. So Mack goes past Fontana. At the back of your picture, you see the Ferrari's gone through. So Mack goes 5th and wasn't delayed by the first of the cars that he was chasing. But it's the 3 in front of him that he needs to worry about. There is Mack. There is Fontana. And this, with a third of the race to run, has got the potential to be one of the best grandstand finishes we've had this year in the International GTOpen. Bouveng, a 1 minute 45.4. Mack, a 1 minute 44.7. 13.2 seconds between them, as Alex Moiseev is fortunately back into the pits. Investigations pending on the Ferrari. So here is Victor Bouveng, the race leader. And at the moment he's in splendid isolation. He's 10 seconds clear of the almighty squabble that's just getting underway for 2nd place. And here is that almighty squabble for 2nd place, headed by Marcello Hahn. Then it's the Garage 59 McLaren of Alex West. Then we've got Mario Plasciuta in the Lechner Racing Mercedes, and Mikael Mack closing up onto all of them very, very quickly. So this is going to be proof in the pudding. Can you overtake at the Hungaroring? For West to overhaul Hahn, for Mack to overhaul all of them, and Mario Plasciuta also looking to join in as well. Mikael Mack has been one of the stars of the weekend. Pole position yesterday, and he just is already able to close up to Mario Plasciuta, sections of the circuit where you just don't normally see people overtaking at the same time. He also knows not to unduly risk the car, but he might be close enough to have a little bit of a run here into turn 14. He flashes his headlights at Mario Plasciuta. Plasciuta, though, not unsurprisingly, doesn't exactly jump aside, because this fight for position, and it allows Andrea Fontana to join back in once more. And after yesterday's disappointment for Mikael Mack and Miguel Ramos, certainly don't want to roll the dice, gamble everything, and it all ends in tears. But the Ferrari might well be able to challenge the Mercedes as they head down towards turn 1. The same not so true for the McLaren on the Mercedes in the battle in front, but Mack not near enough to Plashuta, and you don't know where to look, do you? Because they all concertina up as West caught Hahn, Plashuta caught West, and Mack and Fontana caught all of them. It's turn 3. Again, the McLaren looks to the inside of the Mercedes. The Ferrari looks to the inside of the Mercedes. Swoop down out of turn 4. And of course, all of this battling, the good news is for fans of the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW squad, is that this is going to really help the chances of Victor Bouveng. Because every lap that Mikael Mack is caught in this scrap, it's a lap where Bouveng can maintain, if not extend, his advantage. So we're back to where we were a lap ago, which is that the Ferrari is crawling all over the tail of the Mercedes and now looks for the switchback and should go through. Well done, Mikael Mack, good move. Andrea Fontana also fires his way past Mario Plashuta, who decides that it's not really worth shutting the door at the last moment. Now Mikael Mack immediately chasing Alex West and Marcello Hahn. This is now where it gets serious. It's a battle for the podium. And the two cars in front of him also fighting for class victory. Oh, and West looks to the inside of the Mercedes. Mercedes defends. The Ferrari tries to pick its moment, which doesn't come into turn 16. Wonderful, wonderful race this. Another look at the move from Mikael Mack on Mario Plashuta. Just riding the curb. As close as you want to get. Miguel Ramos watches from the pit wall through turn 1. No epic sort out on this occasion, but West has got a very good run on Marcello Hahn as they head downhill towards turn 3. Hahn to the inside. West tries to send the dummy. Oh, when West thinks about going for it, it means there's no room at the end for Mikael Mack, who just can't pick his way past it. And this is now costing the Ferrari 2 seconds a lap versus the capture of Victor Bouveng. And where does he go for the move? Because everywhere he's looking, he finds a McLaren that's trying to overhaul the Mercedes. So West defends into turn 7. And this is a really epic scrap as again Mack looks, well, he looks/defends into the chicane at turns 8 and 9 as they burst out towards turn 10. The Ferrari all over the tail of the McLaren. But Alex West has the car positioned just where he needs to. So there's nothing yet that the Danish driver can do to overhaul the Swede. All Scandinavian tussle about to be joined by the Italian Andrea Fontana. And is Fontana going to pull the pin? No, he's not. So again, West defends through turn 14 on towards turn 15. The McLaren darts across, covers the inside line. And all the while, though, Marcello Hahn isn't exactly romping clear. There you see the Mercedes getting a little bit wiggly as he applies the power, climbing uphill. Out of the final turn, they sprint down start and finish straight. This is to complete the 25th lap of the race. This wonderful fight for second position. It's Marcello Hahn in the DriveX Mercedes from Alex West in the Garage 59 McLaren. Then Mikael Mack in the Spirit of Race Ferrari. They all close up on a somewhat slow Mercedes. Marcello Hahn deep and heavy on the brakes into turn 1. It catches out the McLaren a little bit, catches out the Ferrari as well. And get the feeling that Marcello Hahn has not got an enormous abundance of grip underneath him. He's also had his team manager summoned to race control with immediate effect, which is worth keeping an eye on. But you can just see, oh, when he slithers very, very wide out of turn 6, defends into turn 7. But again, doesn't leave the door open. Who attacks when is the question, as Harney's struggling to stop the car really for each and every turn, and they're all piling up behind him. They're about to be rejoined by Mario Plashuta. They're going to have Norbert Siedler in this battle as well momentarily in the Farnbacher Racing Lexus, as still Hahn prevails in second place. There's the Lexus in the background. Here comes the Ferrari on the McLaren. And the Lamborghini bobs and weaves as well behind. Towards turn 14. This is Mikael Mack's opportunity, is it? He goes to the inside of Alex West and takes the place. Mikael Mack goes third. West slips to fourth. Andrea Fontana looks to fight as well. Tries to dart to the inside of the McLaren. West has absolutely none of it. And with perfectly good reason, There's still a podium potential here for West, and there is also the Pro-Am class victory available to him, because you just don't feel that Marcello Hahn is going to be able, the way the Mercedes is moving around underneath him, to maintain this sort of pace through to the checker flag as Mikael Mack flashes his headlights. Hahn breaks deep. Mack wide in, looks for the switch back on the outside. The Mercedes is poised. Here's another look at the move from Mack to the inside of West. Draws alongside, textbook stuff. Here we go then, down out of turn 3, and Mikael Mack is right with Marcello Hahn. West, Fontana, Plasciuta, Seidler, they're all part of this scrap as well. Giovanni Venturini is closing at a rate of knots as well. And so, which of these cars for the podium, which of these cars for the Pro-Am class win? The overall race win now looking very secure for Victor Bouveng and Fran Rueda. Result of this redoubtable defence from Marcello Hahn. And it almost looks as if the Mercedes is in pain as he takes it through the chicane. But he's not blocking unduly. He's not doing anything he shouldn't be. He's just putting together a very solid defensive drive, focusing on his corner exit speeds, not risking the car where he knows it's a little bit weaker. But Mack again looks for the run into turn 14. Hahn to the middle of the road. Slows the field through the turn. Hugs the inside line as they head towards the hairpin at turn 15. Scrabbles against the understeer as they climb uphill. As the Vodafone Ferrari of Mikael Mack. Oh, and there's a 5-second penalty for Marcello Hahn because they didn't serve their full pit handicap. And as a result, that car, although it's second on the road, it's going to have 5 seconds added to its race time, having emerged too early from the pits. And that just adds another complexion to it as Fontana launches the inside of Alex West, gains the place. And for West, he now needs to stay within 5 seconds of Marcello Hahn. Hahn still defends the place, squeezes out Mikael Mack, defending through turns 3. So on adjusted time, Hahn is actually down to 7th in the race overall, but he's second on the road. He's got this queue of cars lined up behind him, and he's proving impossible to overtake. Out of turn 6 towards turn 7. The clock ticks downwards, 10.5 minutes to run. Norbert Seidler in the Farnbacher Lexus joining in as well. This is a good opportunity for the Farnbacher team to add some points to their tally. As everybody filters through. And Mikael Mack is all over the tail here of Marcello Hahn. Andrea Fontana up into 3rd position. Right with Mikael Mack as well. And Mack just cannot find a way past this Mercedes. And this is the Hungaroring paradox, which is even if you're appreciably quicker, you can't find a way past. That's robust in defence from Marcello Hahn, but it's too little too late. And Fontana's going to sneak past as well. So Mack and Fontana both released into 2nd and 3rd position. Hahn looks to fight back with immediate effect to the inside of Andrea Fontana. He does more. Oh, he spins. Around he goes. And fortunately, everybody takes evasive action as Marcello Hahn spins away his chances, was just pushing that little bit too hard after lap upon lap of defence. So now, where does that leave us? Well, Victor Bouveng leads the race. 2nd place is Mikael Mack, 3rd Andrea Fontana. This now is the fight for the Pro-Am class victory between Alexander West and Mario Plasciuta. 3rd of the Pro-Am cars is Vitantonio Liuzzi. As here we see, again, the move on Hahn. And then around he goes. In fact, Hahn has recovered. He is still 3rd in the Pro-Am class. But with a 5-second penalty hanging over his head. Immediately now, Mack released into clear air. The exam question to Victor Bouveng in 8 minutes is 15.9 seconds, which feels very unlikely. Meanwhile, here comes Marco Ciocci in pursuit of Kang Ling and Vitantonio Liuzzi. Ciocci in the red Ferrari, the gold Lamborghini of Ling, and then you've got the Roger Dubois-backed Triple F Racing Lamborghini of Vitantonio Liuzzi. They are fighting over 9th, 10th and 11th place. Meanwhile, Mario Plasciuta under pressure from the Farnbacher Racing Lexus of Norbert Seidler. Seidler looking to move up into 5th place. And they've got Giovanni Venturini, the championship leader, just behind them as well. And as has been the case so often this season for the #1 Imperiale Racing Lamborghini, they pick up the points each and every outing. So Bouveng's last lap was a 1 minute 46.8. The lap for Michael Mack was a 1 minute 44.2. So Michael Mack taking 2.5 seconds out of Victor Bouveng over that last lap. And if Mack had just got through a lap or two earlier, well, the chase would have really been on. As it is, the Ferrari can certainly look to start applying some pressure to BMW. Meanwhile, in 3rd, it's Andrea Fontana-Wilch in the fight for 4th. Alex West from Mario Plasciuta, then Norbert Seidler and Giovanni Venturini. Fight for 9th remains very, very tight through the first turn. Liuzzi, though, again, just managing, staying in control of the race. Race clock ticks downward. There's a delegation probably heading towards race control now to beg for an extra 10 minutes to be added to the race because it's been absolutely magnificent. We've had more coming together further down the field between Antonio Coimbra and Marcio Basso. Sporting New Racing teammates. The GTOpen class currently led by Antonio Coimbra, although Martin Conrad is on the cusp of picking his way past the Portuguese. Oh, and across the chicane, both Liuzzi and Ling. Ciocci takes the moral high ground. He stays on the road. And here is a look at Norbert Seidler, looking to the inside of Mario Plasciuta. Plasciuta runs wide. Seidler gains the place. So does Venturini. As here comes Lance DeArnold in 12th place, but he's about to join the scrap in front. So Seidler up into 5th position. And that move on Mario Plasciuta is going to more or less secure the Pro-Am class victory for Western Ledegard, as Venturini has a little bit of a look to the inside of the Lexus. Seidler gives racing room, but no space to Venturini to be able to thrust his way past. Venturini darts one side, then the other, tries to jink to the inside. We're getting to that point of the season at the checkered flag today. Just 6 races to run for the International GTOpen, where every point is absolutely critical. Front of the field, there's been an elevation of pace, by the way, from Victor Bouveng. So although Michael Mack is closing, he's not closing anything like a rate that's going to cause Bouveng concern for the checkered flag. So it is this fight for 5th, which could become a fight for a little bit more than that, because West is in amongst some traffic. It's Ivor Dunbar, the FF Course Ferrari. Caught an opportune place for Alex West. Same for Norbert Seidler. Less opportune for Giovanni Venturini, who now works around the Ferrari. So Seidler released to try and close up onto the Garage 59 McLaren. Headlights being flashed from Seidler, but West has got his own championship to race for here. So he's not exactly going to leap aside and allow the Lexus to come romping through. Meanwhile, Ciocci is back with Kang Ling. They've been joined by Lance DeArnold. They've still got Vitantonio Liuzzi right in front of them. And this is one of those races where you really don't know where to look, because everywhere around the track there are some very, very close wheel-to-wheel tussles. In this one, the 2 Lamborghinis fending off the Ferrari and the Mercedes. Kang Ling, graduate of the Euro Formula Open, chasing the F1 racer, Vitantonio Liuzzi. Liuzzi just out over the curb, trying to get everything he can from the Triple F Lamborghini as the pair of them hurtle down the start and finish straight. Which side will Ling go? Is there an opportunity? Liuzzi to the middle of the road, Ling to the outside. Opens up a little bit of a window for Marco Ciocci that Ling is quick to shut, because the chance is still live to overhaul Triple F Lamborghini as again. Liuzzi closes out the inside line. Ling looks to the outside, will then aim for the cutback. Liuzzi wise to that. Chiocci tries to play himself into the mix as well. Ling having to attack and defend simultaneously. This fight for ninth climbs through turns 5 and 6, then on towards the hairpin at turn 7. They're joined by the SPS Automotive Mercedes of Lance D'Arnold. These are all Pro-Am Championship points as West gets passed by Norbert Seidler. So Seidler finds a way past West up into 4th place. That is important for the farm-backer Lexus in terms of championship points. Venturini also looking to try and make the move on the McLaren as they head towards turn 14. And he's able to slip past, gains the position. We've got 5 seconds added to Antonio Liuzzi's race time. And we've also had the same for Alex Moiseev. Slightly moot point, sees in the pits. Here's another look at it. Oh, Seidler, very opportunistic. Sees half a gap, able to take it. And now it means that West suddenly slips back into the clutches of Mario Plasciuta in the battle for Pro-Am class honours. 2 laps to run, so they're in to what's going to be the penultimate lap of the race. And the battle for 6th and 7th for the Pro-Am win. This is the fight for the AM class victory between Antonio Coimbra and Martin Conrad. They've been together for the past 3 or 4 laps, and now it really is closing up, as is this battle ahead. Now, Liuzzi, essentially, we put him to the back of this queue because he's got 5 seconds penalty due to track limit violations from the car during the race. The front of the field, Mikael Mack has just set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:43.9, and is now just 9.3 seconds adrift to Victor Bouveng. Yeah, but for another 2 laps for Mikael Mack. As Chiocci, again, hassling Kang Ling, fighting for 10th and 11th position. Lance D'Arnold just in behind them. Smile of sorts for Miguel Ramos. And I think in the final equation, they will, here Mikael Mack may well take a 2nd and a 3rd place as the result from the weekend, as the race leader has started the final lap. This quartet fighting their way through. The gap from Bouveng to Mack, by the way, 8.4 seconds. That's not going to particularly close down. 3rd place, Andrea Fontana, still comfortable. Watching them coming past the country box window, as here is the race leader, Victor Bouveng. We have not seen a whole heap of Victor Bouveng. We've not needed to, because Fran Ueda put the car on pole position, and he and Bouveng, as they did in race 2 at Paul Ricard, have controlled things to perfection, and it's going to, once more, bring them hurtling up the championship standings. The championship positions potentially going to look very different at the end of today. They did at the start of it. Hendrik still moves aside in the Lamborghini, allows Bouveng to pass him. Still plenty of places that could well change over the course of this last lap of the race. Not so much for the lead, or indeed the top 3 positions, but the Pro-Am class fight between West and Plasciuta still very live, as is the Antonio Coimbra and Martin Conrad battle for the AM class. Teo Martin, there's to the right of your picture, alongside Fran Ueda on the pit wall, waiting for their car to come back into view. And it's not going to be long now, because climbing uphill, it's been a really fine day in the sun for the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW team. Fran Ueda and Victor Bouveng are going to score their 2nd victory of the International GTOpen season, as Bouveng accelerates out of the final turn, takes the checkered flag, and the acclaim of the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW team. 2nd place goes to Mikael Mack and Miguel Ramos. A charging drive from Mack, a big smile from Miguel Ramos. Andrea Fontana and Vito Postiglione take 3rd. But who is going to finish in 4th? It's Norbert Seidler who comes into view. 5th to Giovanni Venturini, so more points to him. And 6th position and victory in the Pro-Am class goes to Alex West and Com Ledergaard from Mario Plasciuta and Thomas Jaeger. Here comes the rest of this scrap as they wind their way uphill, as Lance Arnold looking to make the move on Chiocci through the final turn. Chiocci has none of that, so as they cross the line, we now turn our attention to the AM class battle. It's 2 corners to run between Antonio Coimbra and Martin Conrad, and Conrad, he's running out of options here, running out of time. It's going to have to be a last corner lunge, but he's not quite close enough to Coimbra, and he runs wide. So Antonio Coimbra and Luis Silva take AM class honours. They take the class victory, an excellent 14th place overall at the end of what has been comfortably the best race that we've had in the International GTOpen this season, and one of the best races that we've had in the history of the championship. That was absolutely magnificent racing. And Victor Bouveng and Mikael Mack, very deserving winners as they celebrate en route to Parc Fermé. We'll take a check of the final classification. So Bouveng and Rueda win it, 8.5 seconds clear of Ramos and Mack, with Mikael Mack setting the fastest lap of the race. Vito Postiglione and Andrea Fontana completing the podium. Conledegar and Alex West win the Pro-Am class. Mario Plasciuta and Thomas Jaeger, then Marcello Hahn and Alan Hellmeister. Eduardo Liberati and Kang Ling into 9th, with Perezzini and Chiocci 4th in class and 10th overall. Yesterday's runs up, Pierberg and Lance D'Arnold finishing in 12th, ahead of Sean Balfe and Rob Bell. Antonio Coimbra and Luis Silva winning the AM class from Aquina and Conrad, then Basso and Balbiani, with a few casualties, unfortunately, along the way. The Racing Trevor BMW we lost early on. Likewise, from Avila and Berard Viega, they tangled. Well, there you go in the championship. 2 points separating the top 3 combinations, with Ramos and Mack, Biaggi and Venturini tied on 60 points apiece. Rueda and Bouveng just 2 points back. What a thrilling run-in to the championship we are going to have when it reconvenes from the summer break. Next in action, the International GTOpen, the first weekend of September at Silverstone, before heading on to Monza at the end of the month, and then the end of October, the traditional season closer at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Now though, Victor Bouveng can celebrate as he clambers out of the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW to the congratulations of co-pilot Rueda. Rueda put the car on pole and led away early on. Postiglione and Fontana celebrate their second podium of the season as the Teo Martin Motorsport mechanics mob their drivers. Super team effort. Likewise, Mikael Mack thanks the Spirit of Race Ferrari squad. Rueda and Bouveng celebrating. Parc Fermé. We'll hear from our race winners in a couple of moments' time. Fontana looks to pick his way out of his helmet. All smiles. Parc Fermé. Mack and Ramos are busy debriefing in Parc Fermé. Great performance from them to give them joint lead of the championship. But just 2 points separating the top 3 pairings, 6 races to go. Fontana and Postiglione, I think third place, a very good result for them in a race of electrifying pace. Disappointment for the Emil Frey Racing Lexus team, Philip Fromavila and Albert Costa retiring early on, and the potential Lexus being well demonstrated through the progress of Norbert Seidler in the Farnbacher Lexus to eventually finish in 4th position. Thumbs up from Mikael Mack and Miguel Ramos. Runners up, absolutely charging drive from Mack.
Fran Rueda, Victor Bouveng, second win of the season, and what a race. Very strategic weekend.
Yeah, handicap on yesterday's race, so we focused on finishing it with one set of tires, and it worked out pretty well. I think we maximized the result yesterday, and today, well, it's just keeping the position, not losing the race. We were on pole, and from there, the first few laps were really good from my side. Then the Mercedes got me, but I kept it as cold as I could, and yes, a good race from all the team, from Victor also. I think we did a really good job.
Victor, a pretty easy second part of the race.
Well, it's never easy. You go out there, you don't know how big the gap will be, so you push as much as you can. You have to make sure to have a good pace in the beginning and then try to get a gap, and it worked pretty well. And from mid of my stint, we tried just to keep the distance. And this guy over here did a mega job this morning to getting pole. And then, yeah, it had a great mega day, and the team made a perfect job with strategy. As Fran said before, we had to play it with a strategy, and it worked pretty well. So we're back here on the top step of the podium. So let's continue this way.
Yeah, well done, guys, and it looks good for the championship. But now podium.
Fran Rueda, who led away from pole positions, the 24-car field surged towards turn 1 for the start of the 8th race of the International GTOpen season. Thomas Jaeger, though, running Rueda close as it was very tight in the opening exchanges. Com Ledegaard also trying to sneak through and gain ground as behind. Yuri Mautrek was rotated after Mike Benham just tagged Sean Balfe, and Balfe tagged the BMW. Behind, there was plenty of jostling for position in the early stages, as Rino Mastronaldi was on a flyer in the SF Racing Ferrari, trying to carve his way up through the pack. Meanwhile, talking point further back, Philip Fromavila and Renko Beirao-de-Viega making contact. Unfortunately, the Lexus and BMW eliminated as a result. Post pit stops, it was Victor Bouveng had the lead. Everybody else was fighting for second behind Marcello Hahn in the DriveX Mercedes. It was a wonderful tussle that was eventually decided in favour of Michael Mack and Andrea Fontana. But as Hahn tried to fight his way back past Fontana, he was just a little bit over-enthusiastic, spinning around, and that promoted Alex West to the lead of the Pro-Am class. West, though, had no easy cruise line as he was chased down by both Giovanni Venturini and Norbert Seidler before Mario Plasciuta tried to dispute class honours. However, it was victory for Victor Bouveng and Fran Rueda, a win that takes them to within 2 points of the championship lead, with Michael Mack and Miguel Ramos tied now at the top of the standings alongside Venturini and Biaggi. So podium time, and smiles from Postiglione and Fontana to the third step of the rostrum. Runners up, Miguel Ramos and Michael Mack. I think for them, the weekend a case of all's well that ends well. Lots of dramas along the way. And then for Fran Rueda and Victor Bouveng, the top step of the podium in Hungary. A perfectly executed strategy for the weekend for the pairing, and it's one that brings them right into contention in the title fight. The Spanish national anthem in honour of the victorious team, the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW squad. As on to the presentation of the trophies. Third place for Postiglione and Fontana. Another very strong weekend for the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini squad. Runners up, Ramos and Mack. Second and a third place, their reward for the weekend. Very, very solid points haul as the Ferrari gets better and better. And for Bouveng and Rueda, second triumph of the season. Good points in yesterday's race as well. And Teo Martin Motorsport, they lost one car early on, but they've got their other to the top step of the podium, and therefore it is time to celebrate with the champagne 6 ecstatic drivers and 1 soaked engineer. As Mac douses Fontana, really impressive driving all weekend from Michael Mack, flying at the wheel of the Ferrari. We'll turn our attention now to the Pro-Am podium. And again, a very, very, very closely contested class battle throughout the course of the race. And the Pro-Am Championship again, like the Am Championship, going to be going all the way to the wire. So third in the class, Marcello Hahn, Alan Hellmeister. Car qualifying well in the front fight in the early stages. Second place, Mario Plasciuta and Thomas Jaeger. Jaeger, one of the standout performers of the weekend. And then Com Ledegaard and Alex West claiming the class victory for the Garage 59 McLaren team. So DriveX Mercedes, third position, the Lechner Racing Mercedes, runners up in the class. For West and Ledegaard, the chance to celebrate on the top step of the podium. Again, a very well judged race from the Garage 59 team. So smiles all around from Marcello Hahn and Hellmeister. Marcello Hahn in particular doing an absolutely magnificent job defending late on. Mario Plasciuta, likewise in the Lechner Mercedes, in the thick of the fight at the front of the field. And for Ledegaard and West, it was a great opening stint from Com Ledegaard, standing a lot of pressure early on. And then the same for West late on, taking his opportunities when they came. Remaining unfazed in the fight with some of the pro drivers, maintaining a great pace and therefore rewarded with Pro-Am victory. And as a result, a chance to make merry with the bubbly on the rostrum. I think Com Ledegaard thoroughly enjoyed that. So did Hahn and West. The bubbly fight continues. We will also be able to bring you the Am class podium. And again, that was very, very tight fight throughout the course of the race. Jose Balbiani and Marcio Basso third in the class from Martin Conrad and Sander Fraquina, with Antonio Coimbra and Luis Silva winning the class despite Coimbra being under intense pressure late on in the race. This was Martin Conrad trying to overhaul Coimbra in the closing stages. It's a battle that ran for several laps, but eventually it was Coimbra who was able in the sporting new Mercedes to prevail and take the class victory. So again, for the sporting new team, both their cars on to the podium. Balbiani and Basso, third in class. Runners up, Fraquina and Conrad. They've had a really excellent trip to the Hungaroring, quickest of all in free practice on Friday. Class winners yesterday. And a thoroughly enjoyable race today. And then, class winners Luis Silva, Antonio Coimbra. Sporting new Mercedes team. Driver's about to make merry with the bubbly. So it's almost time to say goodbye from the Hungaroring. It's been a magnificent weekend of racing. As we head into the summer break, we will next be in action on the first weekend of September in Silverstone. We will see you then as the GTOpen season continues. It's goodbye from Hungary.
Hölgyeim és uraim, természetesen ezzel még messze-messze nem értek véget a programok itt a Hungaroringen, hiszen 3 kiváló verseny van még hátra mai napon, úgyhogy eszükbe ne jusson hazamenni, hiszen este fél hétig fognak robogni a kiváló versenyautók itt a Hungaroringen. A következő programunk 15 óra 55 perckor kezdődik, ami azt jelenti, hogy tudunk szusszani nagyjából egy 20-25 percet. Ekkor jönnek majd a Formula Renault 2.0 kategória autói az utolsó harmadik futamokra, utánuk jönne majd még a Radical European Masters rettentő hangos és nagyon szép versenyautóival a harmadik futamra szintén, és láthatjuk majd a kiváló magyar gyorsas